He hit the wrong woman in the wrong place at the wrong time. The slap sounded like thunder in a quiet storm. Everyone stared, but no one moved. And then, he walked in. The sun was bright over Atlanta, painting the sidewalks in soft gold. Saturday mornings in the city always felt alive, the air buzzing with the sound of traffic, distant music, and people running weekend errands. Inside Maple Street Market, the scent of roasted coffee beans mixed with the faint chill of air conditioning. Amelia Carter pushed her shopping cart through the entrance, her bag slung loosely over her shoulder. She was 35, graceful but strong, with a quiet presence that made people notice her without knowing why. Life had not always been kind to her, but she had learned how to smile through storms. She moved slowly between aisles, reading the labels on her grocery list. Almond milk, cereal, fresh spinach. She was thinking about her husband Marcus, who loved cooking Sunday breakfasts. He always told her that peace began in the kitchen, where people came together and forgot their troubles. The market was filled with weekend chatter, families laughing, children running around, cashiers greeting customers. Everything felt ordinary, safe, predictable. But sometimes, the moments that change lives the most come disguised as normal days. As Amelia placed a loaf of bread into her cart, she noticed a commotion near the back of the store. The sound of harsh words broke through the soft background music. Her first instinct was to ignore it. Trouble had a way of finding those who looked for it, but something in the tone of that voice made her turn. Near the produce section, a man in his mid-40s was shouting at one of the store employees. His voice carried arrogance, the kind that made people step back without realizing it. He was tall, white, wearing a blue jacket and a baseball cap turned backward. His face was red, not from heat, but from pride. The young employee, a black woman barely 20, stood frozen, holding a box of fruits. She looked terrified. "You people can't even do a simple job right." The man yelled, "I've been waiting for 10 minutes, and you still can't restock the apples." The worker mumbled an apology, but he cut her off, stepping closer, invading her space. "Don't talk back to me. Just do what you're told." Amelia's heart tightened. She could see the fear in the girl's eyes. No one around moved. Some shoppers turned away, pretending not to see. Others watched silently, too afraid to get involved. Amelia took a slow breath. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. If you see wrong and stay silent, you become part of it. She pushed her cart forward. Each step felt heavier than the last. "Sir," she said calmly, "please don't talk to her like that. She's just doing her job." The man turned sharply, eyes narrowing. His tone dripped with contempt. "What did you just say?" "I said, there's no reason to speak to her that way. She hasn't done anything wrong." He smirked, stepping closer. "You think you can tell me how to talk? Who the hell do you think you are?" The store grew quiet. All the small noises, beeping scanners, music, chatter seemed to fade. Amelia's heart pounded, but she stood her ground. "I'm just asking you to be respectful. That's all." The man's eyes darkened. "Respect? You want to talk about respect? You people are the reason this country is going downhill." Gasps filled the air. "That's enough," she said firmly. "You're embarrassing yourself." The man's jaw clenched. For a moment, time froze, and then his hand moved faster than thought. The slap cracked through the air like a gunshot. The sound was sharp, cruel, final. Amelia's head turned from the force, her cheek burning. Her shopping cart rolled away, bumping into a shelf. People gasped, some backing away. Others whispered, frozen in disbelief. The young worker dropped her box, fruit spilling across the floor. Amelia slowly touched her cheek. Her skin felt hot, her chest tight. She didn't speak. Not yet. She just looked at him straight, unwavering, silent. The man's smirk widened. "Next time, keep your mouth shut," he said. No one intervened. Not a manager, not a security guard, not a single person. Silence was louder than justice that day. Inside, Amelia's emotions twisted between fear, shame, and fury. She could hear her heart beat in her ears. For a moment, she wanted to cry, but another voice rose inside her, the one that refused to break. She stood tall. Her voice came out calm, almost cold. "You just made a mistake you'll remember for the rest of your life." The man laughed harshly. "Is that a threat?" "No," she said. "It's a promise." And with that, she picked up her purse, ignoring the stares, and walked toward the exit. Each step felt like walking through fire, but she didn't look back. She didn't need to. Outside, the sunlight felt harsher than before. She leaned against her car, trying to steady her breathing. Her reflection in the window showed the red mark on her face, the proof of what hate could still do in a world that claimed to have moved past it. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone. She scrolled to one name, Marcus. When he answered, his voice was calm, deep, familiar. "Hey baby, what's wrong?" She took a breath that shook. "Marcus, a man hit me." For a moment, there was no sound. Just silence, heavy, dangerous silence. "Where are you?" he asked. "Maple Street Market." His voice dropped, steady as a storm before thunder. "Stay right there. Don't move." When the call ended, Amelia's heart pounded faster. She didn't fully understand what she had just set in motion. Only that the man who had humiliated her had just stepped into a world he didn't know existed. Inside that world, Marcus Carter wasn't just a husband. He was the kind of man whose silence was more dangerous than most people's rage. And he was already on his way. 25 minutes later, the black Range Rover pulled into the Maple Street Market parking lot. Its engine was quiet, but its presence demanded attention. People turned to look as the tall man stepped out, dressed in a charcoal suit, sunglasses hiding eyes that had once made enemies shake. Marcus Carter moved with the kind of calm that wasn't peace, it was control. Every step carried the weight of history. The streets used to whisper his name years ago, before he walked away from the life that built him. But power never really left a man like him. It just slept until something woke it up. Amelia stood near her car, arms folded tightly. When she saw him, tears she had been holding back finally broke free. He walked to her and gently touched her cheek. The redness was still there. "Who did this?" he asked quietly. She hesitated. "He's inside." The man in the blue jacket. Marcus's eyes lifted toward the glass doors of the market. He didn't speak for a few seconds. When he finally did, his voice was low, almost a whisper. "Stay here." "Marcus," she said, catching his sleeve. "Don't make a scene." He looked at her then, calm, steady. "This isn't about making a scene. It's about making things right." He turned and walked toward the entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a soft hiss. Two men followed behind him from another vehicle that had just arrived, his quiet security detail. Dressed plain but alert. They didn't speak either. They didn't have to. Inside, the same man who had hit Amelia was standing near the checkout line, bragging loudly to someone about how people needed to learn respect. His voice carried the same arrogance that had filled the aisles earlier. Marcus's shadow fell over him before he noticed. The bully turned, annoyed. "Can I help you?" he said, chewing on gum like nothing mattered. Marcus's tone was measured, polite. "Yes, you can apologize to my wife." The man blinked, then laughed. "Your wife?" "Oh, you mean that loud woman who stuck her nose where it didn't belong?" People nearby began to sense something dangerous forming. The cashier froze mid-scan. A mother pulled her child close. Marcus didn't flinch. She spoke up when you were disrespecting a worker. You hit her for it. Now you'll apologize." The man smirked. "Or what? You gonna hit me back? Is that how it works in your world?" Marcus's voice lowered. "You don't want to know how it works in my world." The room grew silent. Even the background music seemed to stop. The bully laughed again, louder this time. "You think you scare me?" Marcus looked at him for a long second. "No, I think you scare yourself." And then he took a step closer. Marcus's bodyguards moved slightly to the side, positioning themselves near the exits, not to trap anyone, but to prevent interference. The bully noticed and shifted his stance, suddenly uneasy. "You planning to do something?" he said, trying to sound confident. Marcus's expression didn't change. "No, I'm planning to teach you something." He leaned forward slightly, voice quiet enough that only the man could hear. "When you raise your hand against someone who stands for what's right, you lose more than your temper. You lose your humanity. You embarrassed a young woman. Then you struck another for defending her. You call that strength." The man scoffed, but his voice cracked. "She was asking for it. People should know their place." Marcus's jaw tightened. "And what place is that?" "People like her always think they can tell others what to do." "People like her." Marcus repeated. "You mean people who don't look like you? People who still have the courage to do what's right while you hide behind your hate." The bully opened his mouth, but no words came. The crowd around them watched in silence. Marcus continued. "You see, I used to believe power was about making others afraid. But my wife taught me something different. She showed me that real power is the ability to stop yourself when every bone in your body wants revenge." He stepped back slightly, letting the tension breathe. "I won't hit you. I won't touch you. You're already broken. But you're going to apologize. Right here. Right now." The man looked around. Every eye in the store was on him. His bravado cracked under the weight of judgment. His lips trembled. I didn't mean to hit her," he muttered. Marcus's gaze stayed locked. "Say it properly." The bully swallowed. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I was wrong." Amelia, standing by the door now, watched quietly. Tears building again, not from pain, but from pride. Marcus nodded once. "Good. Now you understand that words can build or destroy. Choose them carefully next time." He turned to leave. As he passed the store manager, he said, "You might want to train your staff to protect customers, instead of watching them get hurt." The manager nodded nervously. "Yes, sir. I'm sorry. We'll handle it." Outside, the sunlight hit Marcus's face as he stepped back into the open air. For the first time that day, he let out a slow breath. Amelia met his eyes. "You didn't hurt him." "I wanted to," he admitted softly. "But that would make me no better than him." They sat in the car for a moment, neither speaking. The weight of what had just happened hung between them like smoke. Amelia looked out the window at the store where it all unfolded. "Do you think he meant it? The apology?" she asked. Marcus started the engine but didn't drive. "Maybe not today. But he'll remember it. He'll remember the look on every face in that room. That kind of shame changes a man slowly. It burns until he learns." Amelia leaned her head back, eyes closing. "When he hit me, I felt so helpless. I wanted to scream, to fight back. But then I thought of you. You always say silence can be powerful. I never understood that until now." Marcus looked at her. "Silence can protect you. But sometimes you have to break it to protect others. You did the right thing." She smiled faintly. "You always make it sound simple." "It's not simple," he said. "But it's right." As they drove home, Marcus's mind replayed the scene again and again. The sound of the slap, the fear in her voice, the way she still stood tall. For years, he had lived with violence, used it as a tool. Today, he realized the strongest thing he had ever done was not to use it. That night, he called one of his old contacts quietly, not for revenge, but for accountability. Within hours, the bully's name reached people he had mistreated before. Stories spread not of his power, but of his weakness. Marcus didn't need to ruin him. The truth would do that on its own. The next morning, social media picked up a video from a bystander in the store. It showed the moment Marcus made the man apologize. The clip went viral overnight. Thousands of comments, thousands of hearts. One comment stood out to Amelia when she saw it. "Strength is when you could hurt someone, but you choose to heal instead." She looked at Marcus and smiled. Seems like people still notice when someone chooses the harder path. He smiled back. Maybe that's how the world starts to change. The next few days passed quietly. But truth has a way of traveling faster than lies. By Monday morning, the entire city had seen the video. People watched it again and again. The woman who stood up for what was right. The man who answered hate with calm power. And the silence that fell when courage spoke louder than rage. News outlets picked it up. Bloggers debated it. Some called Marcus a hero. Others said he was intimidating. But everyone agreed on one thing. The slap that was meant to humiliate had instead awakened something bigger. At their home, Amelia sat by the window reading messages pouring in on her phone. Hundreds of strangers had written to her. "Thank you for standing up for that girl. You gave me courage to speak next time someone crosses the line. Your husband's calm was pure power." Amelia's heart swelled with emotion. She never wanted fame. She only wanted fairness. Marcus walked in quietly, setting down his phone. "Looks like people are still talking," he said. Amelia smiled faintly. "I didn't think it would matter this much." He sat beside her. "You gave them something rare. A reminder that silence doesn't have to mean surrender. You didn't fight hate with hate. You faced it with dignity. That's what people are responding to." She looked at him curiously. "And what about you?" "Everyone online is calling you the calmest man alive." He chuckled softly. "If they knew who I used to be, they'd call me something else." Amelia reached out, touching his hand. "Maybe that's the point. You changed. You chose peace." He nodded slowly. Peace isn't something you find. It's something you earn after surviving chaos. Outside, the sky turned gray with an oncoming storm. But inside their home, the quiet was warm, not heavy, but healing. 3 days later, someone knocked on their front door. Amelia opened it and froze in surprise. Standing there was the young store employee, the same girl she had defended that day. Her eyes were nervous but hopeful. "Hi," the girl said softly. "I'm sorry for showing up like this. I had to see you." Amelia smiled warmly. "Come in, please." They sat in the living room. The girl introduced herself as Kendra. She was 20, worked part-time while studying at night. "I wanted to thank you," Kendra said. "That day, I thought nobody would care. When he yelled at me, I just wanted to disappear. But you spoke up. And because you did, I finally decided to stand up for myself too." Amelia's eyes softened. "You don't have to thank me, Kendra. You deserved respect. Everyone does." Kendra hesitated. "I quit that job," she said quietly. "It wasn't safe." But something happened after the video went viral. A local organization saw it and offered me a scholarship. I'm starting community college next week. Tears filled Amelia's eyes. Marcus, who had been listening quietly from the kitchen doorway, smiled. "That's how change starts," he said. "One act of courage sparks another." Kendra nodded. I just wanted you both to know you changed my life. After she left, Amelia sat for a long while, lost in thought. I didn't realize one small action could reach this far, she said. Marcus looked at her. The smallest ripples create the biggest waves. That's why we have to be careful about what we put into the world. Later that week, Marcus received a letter at his office. It was unmarked, written in a rough hand. Inside was a short note. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm sorry for what I did, for who I was. I lost my job after that video. At first, I was angry, but then I watched it again. I saw the look in your wife's eyes, not fear, just disappointment. That broke me more than any punishment could. I'm trying to be better now. Thank you for not destroying me when you could have. Marcus read the note twice, then folded it carefully. When Amelia came to pick him up that evening, he handed it to her silently. She read it and looked at him with surprise. He wrote this. Yes, Marcus said quietly. Seems like he learned something after all. Amelia sighed, a small smile forming. Maybe he needed that mirror more than he needed punishment. Marcus nodded. Sometimes pain teaches faster than pride ever could. They drove home in silence. The city lights shimmered on the windshield like fading stars. The world outside was still chaotic, still unfair. But something about that letter reminded them that hearts can change, even the hardest ones, if truth reaches them the right way. That night, Marcus placed the letter in a drawer in his office, not as a trophy, but as a reminder of who he once was and who he had chosen to become. A week later, Marcus and Amelia took a walk through the city park. The sun was warm, children played nearby, and everything felt peaceful again. Amelia stopped near the pond, watching the reflection of trees ripple in the water. You know, she said softly, I used to think revenge was the only way to heal. But that day, when you didn't fight him, I realized you were teaching me something too. Marcus smiled faintly. I used to think revenge was strength, but it's just another form of fear. When you let go of the need to hurt someone back, you finally take your power back. She turned to him. How do you do it? Stay so calm. He looked at the horizon. Because I've seen what anger can destroy. Entire lives. Families. I've been there. And the day I met you, I promised myself I'd never let that world touch us again. She reached for his hand. You kept that promise. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the wind brushing through the trees. The noise of the city faded behind them, leaving only peace. As they walked back, a young man passed them wearing a t-shirt that said, "Be kind. The world is listening." Amelia smiled. Looks like people are learning. Marcus nodded. It starts small, but it spreads. Months later, Amelia received a message from Kendra. It was a photo her first day in college. She was smiling, holding a book bag, and wearing confidence like armor. Under the picture, she had written, "Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like." Amelia showed it to Marcus. He smiled, pride filling his eyes. "That's your legacy right there," he said. "No," she replied softly. "That's ours." He nodded. Maybe that's the real kind of justice, not revenge, but change. That evening, as the sun set behind the city skyline, Amelia sat on the porch with a cup of tea. The sky was painted in soft orange and purple. She thought about everything that had happened. The slap, the shame, the fear, the courage, and the forgiveness that followed. Her voice in her heart was calm now. Sometimes life tests us not to break us, but to show others how to rise. Marcus joined her quietly, setting down his phone. They watched the light fade together. The narrator's voice closes the story gently. In a world where cruelty speaks loud, kindness must speak louder. In a world that glorifies strength, true strength is found in mercy. When hate strikes, answer it not with fists, but with truth. Because the price of silence isn't peace, it's losing your soul. And the reward for courage is a world that begins to heal. The screen fades to black. Soft music rises. The story ends not with revenge, but redemption. Proof that power used wisely can change hearts more than violence ever could. Your turn. What's the life lesson you're walking away with? Tell us in the comments. Like and subscribe the channel for more interesting videos.